I am doing it.
Oh, Jesus.
I will be going balls deep. I will do that. I will do it.
You'll get up to the recording, you'll just be sort of like, they'll just be trying to put you in like different positions. You'll be like, I'm not a rag doll. I'm not a rag doll.
I'm not a performing monkey. Oh, for fuck's sake. But yeah, I'm well up for doing that.
We went from that to that. All because you can't do the exercises. How dare you? I may not be like one of Blue Zone, but I can still strut me stuff. I cannot wait to get on to I cannot wait to get on to Max and Paddy. I really can't.
God. Have you got the DVD for it? Because I think the commentary's gonna have to be a must.
I'm gonna wait until closer to the time.
Yeah.
To,
I think I got lucky because when I went on Music Magpie, it was the last one that was on there. And it was probably reflected in the price because it was nearly a tenner.
Yeah.
Whereas like Peter Kay thing was like £2.
Well, I don't
the fitness DVD was the same.
From what I can remember from the commentary, it's not actually Peter Kay and Paddy McGuinness that do it. I think they have like celebrity guests come in and just react to it.
Oh, right.
React to the actual episode because I think
you got Noddy Holder, aren't you?
Yeah, I think Noddy Holder's in one episode. I think
he appears as the excuse me, he's the salesman.
Yeah,
he's going to see him about something. He gets the two bodyguards. He's like, well, you can speak to these guys, Les, Dennis.
Oh no! It's the garage. He's the owner of the garage. These are the two mechanics on him.
That's
and Paddy goes, "I'll do your dentist a favour. I'm not those bastards out."
Yeah, that's not the older. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was in the garage,
Brendan...
and they nicked the van out the garage, and he's like at the end, he's like going, "Oh fuck!" At the end,
it's Brendan O'Connell who's Gypsy Joe in the first episode.
That's right. Yeah,
that's the one.
He's to be honest, he's funnier in the outtakes because he just keeps fucking up his lines, and he's just sort of like, God, it's really hard, working with fucking comedians. He's like, it must be really difficult, sort of like coming up with your own material.
Wow.
Just sort of like off. But yeah, I'm pretty sure like the commentaries. I know Keith Harrison Orville is one on an episode.
Yeah.
And I think, well, it's quite badly aged, but I think like Vernon Kay and Tess Daly is another one.
Oh, right.
From what I can remember. But I don't think, I'm pretty sure it's just sort of like celebrity guests that do the commentary, or it might just be an alternative commentary, and there might be another commentary on top of that.
Yeah, there might be different ones, because some of them do have multiple different commentaries, don't they? So I'll have a goosey gander at it. But the one thing I do like about the commentary on this Peter Kay thing is it seriously looks like Peter Kay's gone in his front room, set up a microphone, set up like what Coxy did when we did WrestleMania. Live, and then just put the fucking DVD on and just let's just talk about it as it comes on. And they're drinking while they're doing it. It's how it comes across. It's fucking great. Oh, God. Bye.
All right. Excuse me. No.
Coming soon. Max and Paddy's Road to Nowhere merchandise.
Coming soon.
Coming soon.
Oh, I've said that sort of like if I ever, when I pass this HGV practical and I get into driving trucks, I want like a
fuck's sake.
I want like a red ribbon, like Dragon Ball Z Abridged. They've done like Super Android 13 movie or whatever, and like you specifically sort of like I don't know, sort of like the accent of like a Kentucky truck driver. And he literally just has like his literal one of his catchphrases is, "Where's my trucker hat?" So I kind of like one of Red Ribbon Army sort of like cap, just sort of like go up to people, "Look at my trucker hat."
Okay.
Oh dear.
Has to be done.
Nice. Are you guys ready? Or
I'm ready.
Do I sound? Am I clear enough for my?
Yeah, you're clear enough. Huh? Yeah. How am I sounding?
Yeah, that's fine.
Good.
Your background like half disappeared before though. Like you could only see half of you could see the stew, and then the rest of it was just like your dark your dark room or something. Like
Oh right.
I don't know why.
Oh, like that you mean?
Well, no, you just sort of sat there. It just disappeared like slowly.
It's sort of ironic. It's ironically placed because it looks like
He's pissing on my neck. Yes.
It's pissing on you. Yeah.
Yeah. I might just shuffle over. There you go. There you go. You can see the ECW logo. That's better.
You're off kilter, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
Pissing on yourself.
Pissing in the wind.
I'll load my notes. Notes to there.
You do not piss on your own doorstep.
That's
the Royal Family thing. That's a Royal Family reference, that.
Yeah.
If I ever catch you drinking in the feathers, I'll clip you around the bloody ear. All right. You do not shit on your own doorstep. I nearly did last night. Couldn't get the key in quick enough.
Oh dear. Cool. And in 3. Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the Phoenix.
Shh. Eyes down, because it's time for the Phoenix pod.
And let's tickle those balls.
Eyes down. Tickle them balls. Here we go.
We're playing the National. We need silence.
Good evening, Preston. Good evening, Bolton. Good evening, Salford. Good evening, Bolton.
Smash.
Yes, we are, of course, back once again as the Phoenix Pod. Is myself, AXC, joined once again by a man who is half a man.
Get it? Got it? Maybe?
No, we didn't.
Fucking hell, I never get it right.
He's stupid. He's allegedly sexy, and he's called Flinders. It's stupid, sexy Flinders.
Yeah, I feel like I'm wearing nothing at all.
Nothing at all.
Nothing at all.
Stupid, sexy Flinders.
Oh, I just can't help myself. But I'm debating about my Halloween costume for this year.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you're debating on your nickname again. I was like, fucking hell, we've already been through this once.
Oh no. This is the old nickname evolved. Going back to college, I was known as Ned because of my last name. It's one letter away from Flanders, so it went back, and then wrestling happened, and then I became the hat guy for reasons, which wasn't even my invention, by the way. And then wrestling happened, and I went back to Ned again. So yeah, that's me. The other problem is now on my PSN, I have hat in my name, and I can't get rid of it because it's not going to get rid of it. It'll fuck some of my games up. So that's fuming. Oh well, never mind. Burn the hat
until they fix it.
Which
they probably will never do because it's Sony.
No, it's Sony, and the PS5's out this year, so fuck PS4.
And of course, the other voice you can hear, he is the stowaway.
Shh.
And
trying to sneak into Dover. Shut up.
He's never had time for sex. Too busy having babies. or should I say he's at the bar holding 2 whiskies, 2 Canada Dry. It's Lewis Ogden.
You all right?
We're doing fine.
How's he doing? How's thou doing?
We're doing fine. See, nothing offensive, nothing blue.
Oh, just raise. Get it off! Get it off!
So we are back once again on our fortnightly cycle. Still looking at that Peter Kay thing, whereas this time we're looking at episode 2, which is Eyes Down. Set in a bingo hall in Bolton. He says with quotation fingers.
Not Blackpool. This is
Not
not Blackpool.
Definitely not Blackpool.
Yeah, we don't notice these. Yeah, we don't notice these things being, San Groningen and all that. We don't notice these things. It's definitely Bolton.
Yeah, some of us don't. Some of us recognise of it being not Blackpool, despite living 10 minutes away from said venue featured in this episode.
Absolutely, yeah. It is certainly not located next to an old railway bridge. It really isn't.
Oh, of course not.
No. There's not a Domino's there now.
No, it's a Pizza Hut.
That's true. See, I don't like pizza. That's my excuse.
You don't like cheese.
Ergo, I don't like pizza.
Oh, dear. So, this is Eyes Down, set in a bingo hall in Bolton, a.k.a. Blackpool. Original air date, 19th of January 2000. The episode follows a day in the life of the customers and employees, including Patrick O'Neill, a teenage employee who does not like working at the hall, his friends Yvonne and Sparky, the bingo caller Tom Dale, and owner Ron Hibbert, who is afraid of Tom, and the various old women who inhabit the club.
As well as a little cameo from who cameoed in a certain episode of Phoenix Nights that we'll get into in a little bit.
Indeed we will. So we get an opening shot of the club from above. The narrator gives a brief history of bingo as we see various people, mainly pensioners, packing in. Eyes down for your first number.
Yeah, the narrator makes mention that it's sort of like a game that's existed since ancient Rome, which it seems to be a bit of a
stretch,
Billy
shall we
bullshitter.
say? Yeah, let's say it's an exaggeration of the truth, shall we say? Jesus Christ! You just imagine them Romans there with their little bingo dabbers, can't you? Just bits of charcoal, smacking it onto stone.
Dunk.
With the dabber going, "Ooh, can smell that bullshit."
Thing is, though, if you think about it, if the ancient Romans were playing bingo, it would take fucking ages, wouldn't it? Because how long are their numbers?
Well, that's the thing. It's like
V-I-I-I-X.
one or whatever. Yeah, VII, like 7. Right, cool. Right.
Looking for some VII.
So we open on Waterloo Road here in Blackpool. We can see William Hill in the distance along the Royal Oak next door and the former Apollo Bingo Hall, which isn't there anymore.
Oh dear. Keyfabe's dead. Let's just say it. All right, well, Keyfabe's dead. Keyfabe's dead.
It's kayfabe.
Whatever. It's so dead I can't even say it right.
Keyfabe would work a lot more if it was set in Fleetwood.
This is true. This is true. There is an old bingo hall as well that is in Fleetwood that's derelict now as well, funny enough. They could have used.
Peter did mention in the commentary at one point, he said when they were scouting for locations, he said it was important they found one like this, which is like an old cinema style bingo hall venue sort of thing, because they had like the stage and that sort of thing, rather than it's been a level floor.
It looks more grandiose. Yeah, it looks more grandiose. He said he weren't a fan of all these single floor sort of things, because let's be honest, all these old buildings, they have character. And if you're having a program like what we're watching, you need character. It adds to it, basically. I mean, without going into too much detail on it, you want it to be like the stereotypical thing that you think of as a bingo hall. And the modern day things like they were building at the time. I mean, I'm thinking back now around at Mecca Bingo in Blackpool, if they was looking round Blackpool, I think it just opened up round about this time when this was filming. Maybe slightly earlier. And
I don't know, because I've never been in sort of like a bingo hall, but I imagine sort of like Mecca Bingo would be proper like commercialised.
Absolutely. I mean, they used to have one above. It was in the middle of town. It was above. It's where the Viva Vegas thing is now. Viva Bar, whatever the fuck it's called. And it's like I say, they had two at one point while they transitioned over, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then it just, like I say, it just shut it down, and then it became empty for a good while, and then Viva took over.
Well, we also had on the closeout last week as well. There was the Empire Bingo Hall on near excuse me, near Vicarage Lane.
Yep, we had the one that was
only closed last week, and I think that was very much old school in this sort of style of almost like an old cinema building converted sort of thing. So
yeah, exactly that. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was probably one of the last ones. Well, it was the last one round here that was like that. I mean, all you've got now is Mecca Bingo, and you've got the new one that's opening up near me. Yay! Because of if you know Blackpool at all or anything like that, where the cinema is, they're building another massive, great big bingo hall where they're going to have a lot of bingo bongo, apparently.
Whoa, that's not you sleeping.
Yay! I'm going to have dancing grannies up on my having pisses in my carport. Fantastic.
I think we should do like a big podcast group. Like actually going out for sort of like a night of bingo, because I've never been to one before. I just think it'd be like dead out of character. You know, you got all these old biddies at tables, and then you just got us as a podcast group, just sort of like, you know, as the odd group out.
Absolutely, I think that. Yeah, absolutely. I'm down for that.
I'd play just giving up halfway through. You'd be like, oh fuck it, and just go to the bar.
Just in the middle of the national, just throw your fucking marker across
like,
the room.
Is that a call? I'm like, no, he's had enough.
Make snide comments to everyone who wins.
Fucking fix.
She's
been given the call. She's been given the call and the glad eye.
That was the line I was going to say before we came on the air. There was a bit on the commentary where Peter mentions about when someone calls, like he thought it was a thing that went round, like everyone like someone won, they were accused them of shagging the caller.
I wonder if that thing went on round the sort of like the bingos that's on the promenade. You got the fucking Pat's bingo on the front, the 20p a go. What did he do? They wanted to give the blowy the caller the blowy just before they played.
you'd get some like random day trippy or sat next to him, like they go and win. You're like slut.
Yeah. Bingos, fucking slut.
So yeah. Anyway, getting back to the episode, it was the former Apollo Bingo Hall. It's not. Well, I'll say it's not there anymore. It's still there. It was closed years ago. Was due to reopen as a venue, but currently sits empty.
It was going to use it as like a music venue or something like that, weren't they?
Yeah, it was a multifunctional sort of comedy, music, all that sort of thing. And then sort of they started working on it, and then it just all sort of fell flat, and nothing's ever come of it since.
Sounds like most of Blackpool, to be honest.
Yeah, true. Then round the corner on his bike, coming past the Royal Oak, we are told it's 8:20 in the morning. We're introduced to main character Patrick O'Neill, who's late for work.
Hey. And the best thing to do when you're late for work and you know you're getting into trouble, let's ride straight through my workplace. So yeah, he cycles straight through the main floor, straight into the back of the fucking place.
He cycles through and we get a voiceover as he's cycling through saying, oh, I hate the job. Worst job I've ever had. And I used to work at Harvester. Followed up by what's got 90 balls and screws old women?
Bingo.
You're laughing, it's true. Old people, can't beat them, pity. And as we see him picking up some trays, one of which I know was a woman, noticed was a woman who had bare feet. So she's taking her shoes off as he's reaching under to grab a tray.
Oh,
so
lovely.
They pour in the casted cocoon.
That was a proper throwaway line, but it's so funny.
But that's where he sat there. He's like, "Oh, I'll tell you another story. We had a woman down there last week having a fit during a game."
No, I'm not laughing at the woman having a fit. I know what's coming.
Well, Janice came down, put it in recovery position. Everyone's playing as if nothing's happened. And then Janice had to help her husband because he was doing 2 books.
Doing his own and hers, and he couldn't keep up.
Couldn't cope.
Oh, dear.
Oh, God.
And he's at the bar, and we say, get a shot of him there. Him there.
Yeah.
Tom Dale, king of the callers, self-proclaimed. He calls himself that. No one else does.
They mentioned on commentary when they show Tom Dale's picture hanging up on the wall, which is another character played by Peter Kay. And they literally just make mention on commentary. It's just sort of like, you're going for the Dracula look there, aren't you? It's like, yeah, pretty much.
If you look, I noticed that when he said that when I was watching it again through, because I watched this episode 3 times to get it proper instilled into my brain, and it never dawned on me until I watched it with the commentary that was going on. And then when you look at it, you think his fucking teeth are longer.
Yeah.
The genuine, I think that's
the proper Dracula.
The canines. Yeah, and
canines.
Them's the ones. But yeah, it was like, yeah, I think that's what they're probably going for. Sort of like someone that sucks them all in. It's weird. It makes sense in a way.
It's what is it? Patrick tells the camera he hates. It's like, oh, I hate him, and he hates me. He wants rid of me.
Won't say anything though, because he's a coward. And he's just sort of like, well, maybe he won't say anything because I saw him in Preston once wearing a dress.
But there's also there's a picture next to him of the manager, which is Ron Hibbert, and we do see later on, and as they do again, they point out in the commentary like, oh, we purposely had it so Tom Dale's picture is bigger than Ron's.
Yeah.
So, but then another line from Patrick, which is whatever Tom says goes. Bloody bingo mafia. Women love him. Women love him. He had a week in Fungarola. Attendance figures dropped by 40%. Ron had to come in. He shit himself because he had to do some work.
And then Patrick makes mention, he's just sort of like, if you get a chance, film, go to Tom before he does sort of like his warm-up routine for his walkout. And he's just sort of like cut to a shot of Tom. He's literally there just doing like shit shadow boxing. And you hear on the voiceover for Patrick is just sort of like, he stocks up on energy drinks like absolutely down the low before he goes on stage. There's no real point though, because as soon as he gets out there, he just stands still for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, as I said on our group chat before, though, like there's a throwaway scene that pops up later on, and right behind the stereo system, there's like 8 or 9 packs of Huggies, just for like, I don't know why they're there or anything, but then it's also that thing with Tom where he's doing like he's punching the air and he's giving it with the shoulders and that. And he starts like bobbing the head and stuff.
Yeah, he's proper like shadow boxing.
But then he's like tells her to kick the music on, so she's playing PJ and Duncan. Let's get ready to rumble. And it's that whole bit of like, they get to the line. It's like, what just wrecked the mic? What just wrecked the mic? And just the psych, like the finger point, which they all pissed themselves laughing at on the commentary.
Yeah, absolutely wet themselves.
And then he appears on stage as some like, we get the pensioner who's like, oh, I'd love to go to his caravan. Yeah, I think that'd be a nice night. It was like, what will you do?
They make mention on commentary, just sort of like, well, we just asked some of the regulars, like, what they would do if Tom, George Clooney were ever to sort of like, come live in the local area. And then they just sort of like film the reactions to it. And then they just sort of like, I think it's Peter says, yeah, we just worked that in to say that they were talking about Tom Dale, really.
Yeah. So yeah, the woman there, they were just basically asked her about George Clooney, like Lewis has just said. They were just recorded the reactions and put he was talking about Tom.
So we goes for an intro, and then he's we need to do a quick celebration to Elsie Jackson, 78 years young today. That's from your daughter and your sister. Tell you Elsie.
Janice instead of Janice.
Janice, yeah.
That's from your sister, Janice. I tell you, Elsie, if I was 10 years older, you'd be dead.
Which gets a chuckle from the crowd, but...
He's blue. He's blue. He's not effing and jeffing, but he's a bit blue.
Yeah.
It's funny, he's like, you'd be dead. And then everyone laughs, and he's like, oh, I'm only joking.
Bit of fun.
But then, speaking of death, the lady hit the back in the wheelchair on Tuesday sadly died this morning.
Got a call from it was confirmed by the infirmary. It's like us at the Apollo have sent a wreath in her honour.
But it goes from that into right. We'll jump straight into the game. Eyes down for full house, and let's tickle those balls.
So yeah, we're going. Yeah, it's your blue sheet. Yeah, eyes down. We'll tickle those balls.
And it's something to make mention for later on when they go for the great big massive national game. Is that there's no mention of from Tom of wanting to tickle those particular balls.
Oh no!
There's a certain bit of professionalism given what happens later on.
Yeah, we'll cross that when we get there, I reckon.
Yeah.
But it's a slightly different tone from our Tom here on that one.
So yeah, Tom's in his office been interviewed, and he follows up the line with, "I get the Billy Bunters what they want." I tell you, I haven't had a day off in 14 years.
Apart from them 2 weeks.
Well, we see various pictures of him like holding like the big novelty checks with like some winners where it's like 10 grand, 25 grand. And then we get a couple of pictures of celebrities, which include, I believe, one is Bob Carroll G's.
It is.
To follow on, and Tom Jones. It's
autographed as well with Bob with massive letters right across it. It's the only one that's autographed, might I add.
He then mentions acts that have been played there, including Park Avenue.
Yeah, he meant Park Avenue are mentioned.
But then follows up with, could have got Shirley Bassey for 9 grand, but she wouldn't get changed in the toilets.
Which is more humorous for people like me and Coxy, because we know the venue.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. It was a full-on shit. It would have been a full-on shit show.
Yeah.
In more ways than one.
If you know the Royal Oak, you'll know what I mean.
So it goes on to mention coach trips and Christmas parties. Oh yeah, they love it. Like you got to give them something, like just a glass of sherry and a mince pie. Is like that'll do them.
Well, he mentions the coach trips and sort of like some of the other destinations that they go to, and they include Birkenhead and Southport. So we get a Southport name drop for me.
Hey! The exotic places are all around here, you know.
And not for the first time in this episode.
Ah, yes.
There's also a random clip where it cuts to him saying, "Oh, ladies and gentlemen, the winner of Stars in Your Eyes is Mr. Chris de Burgh."
Peter makes mention on commentary. It's just sort of like that actually happened in real life. Just sort of like there was a national game going on, and they sort of like cut halfway through the game to announce the winner of Stars in Their Eyes.
Yeah,
and everyone applauded.
Yeah,
and everyone applauded.
And I think Peter Kay said he worked, like I say, he used to work at a bingo hall, and all this shit that he was sort of like he put into the show actually happened while he was working at a bingo hall. So all of this stuff that we're finding absolutely piss funny, hilarious, actually in a way happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tom continues saying, "No, it's only a job to young'uns. That's the problem." And he's in the office talking to Yvonne about how she needs ambition. Only a pot washer.
Yeah. He literally just goes to Yvonne and it's just sort of like you, Yvonne, you've got potential, but you seem to lack commitment. And she just looks at Tom behind his desk and she just goes, "I wash pots."
Yeah.
Oh, I bet you could be a bingo caller if you wanted to. She's like, "I'm back at uni in September."
Oh no! You miss the fact someone pretty like you could easily like become a bingo caller. It comes across as sort of like a little creepy vibe, sort of like a greasy, sort of like slimy vibe, which is I think is what they were going for throughout the whole thing. But it's especially prevalent in that scene where it's like proper greasy, sort of like skin crawly.
It's when she says she's only here for the summer, then back at uni, and Tom says to her, "What are you studying?" She goes, "Politics, advanced economics, and European law." He looks at her dumbfounded.
He looks at her dumbfounded, just sort of like gives like a little side look at the camera, and he's just sort of like, "Oh, it's all well and good, but where's that going to get you?"
Oh dear. then we find out it's break time. Patrick and his co-worker are supposed to be in the fire safety meeting, but Patrick won't go.
Yeah.
And it's, why won't you go, Patrick? Oh, I'm not spending my tea with a weirdo. Who's the weirdo? Well,
I don't think this part was actually scripted. I think this was
it was full on improv. The fact he's like,
improv.
He sat there like leaning against the wall, just like Keith Lard. I'm like, who? Keith Lard. What?
Probably gets up into the camera. Gets up into the camera like, are you watching, Pete? Can you hear me? Yeah, Keith Lard. Yeah, talking about you. It's like,
it's full on. I've got the line here. It's, are you there, Keith? Are you there?
Yeah.
Dog Tanyan. And what's his name? Sparky breaks out just pissing himself laughing.
Yeah, that's it from that point onward.
The camera guy's just like, why do you call him Dog Tanyan? Because he interferes with dogs. In what way?
Like,
the very worst imaginable way.
All through this little bit, you can see sort of like the camera moving up and down, as if sort of like the cameraman's just sort of like literally in fits of giggles behind the camera.
Yeah, the lassie behind is absolutely he's giggling away. Sparky, we find out, is actually Clinton Baptiste.
Yeah.
He's the actor that plays Clinton. Yeah, he's absolutely piddling himself.
Yeah,
legitimately piddling himself. And
another note to mention is Yvonne is played by Sian Gibson, who pops up in Car Share, and she's also young Mary in Phoenix Nights.
Yep.
Yes. So why do you call him Dog Tanyan? Because he interferes with dogs. In what way? The very worst way imaginable. And then there's a pause and silence, and he goes, seriously, he bums dogs. He bums them.
It's just how we just, matter of fact, just bums dogs.
Well, then
he's just sort of like, I swear to God, like, you know, Sparky one time, and like Sparky's next to him just going, hey, keep me out of this. It's like, oh, sorry, member of staff. And Yvonne goes, who's Sparky? And Patrick just goes, he's Sparky.
Yeah, he's Sparky. So why do you call him Sparky? He got struck by lightning.
Last July.
Well, there's a bit with Patrick when he says, well, we think he does, because Sparky, and he goes, hey, and he goes, oh, sorry, yeah. Member of staff rifled his bags accidentally on purpose and found loads of dog stuff.
Like what? It's like collar with a bell on, like a muzzle, chew toy,
chloroform.
It's like, no, not really. It wasn't really chloroform.
Sparky's laughing so much his fucking legs are shaking. At that point.
Guy behind the camera just goes, well, maybe it was a reason. And Patrick just goes, yeah, bumming dogs. And you just hear Yvonne in the background going, does he really do that with dogs? And Patrick just goes, yes, so you better be careful.
Yeah.
So then we hear we hear a door go. Patrick jumps up and knocks the clock back.
Yeah.
And then Janice enters and was like, "Oh, shouldn't be that thingy in the clock. That's a sackable offence, that, and they should be in the meeting." Patrick said, "We don't get paid for the meeting." He's like, "You do we?" So then we see the introduction of one Mr. Keith Lard.
Hey, he's back again.
Surrounded by the staff, trying to talk over it, no one's paying attention. Coming across a bit like like a substitute teacher who can't get control, I found.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yvonne's looking through some sort of dog magazine that's apparently Keith's. She's like, who's this? Like, don't matter whose it is. Well, colour lips in red. And he's like, well, it's mine. Then he's like, shut up and give these leaflets out, will you? Then we get an interview with Keith where he's like, I've trained over 5,000 staff, mate. They want to know all the gory details. How many bodies have you seen? How many severed heads? But then he's like, that's not what keeps me awake at night. The thing that keeps me awake at night is ignorance. Ignorance that the generation now towards fire safety. But then he sort of ends up like shitting on himself. He's like, ignorance kills, fire doesn't. Ignorance does. And smoke. No.
Well,
wait.
Fire kills. But
fire does kill.
Fire does kill.
Then Back in the room with Keith, he's like, "What should you do when you discover a fire?" And Patrick literally mumbles, "Sparky, run like fuck."
Run like fuck. And nobody else is giving an answer, so he just gets the air horn out. Just goes.
Well, it's I remarked that once at a job, and got a book thrown at me. So, what do you do when you see a fire? Run like fuck and got a book thrown at me.
I'm doing that on my next fire training. Abso-fucking-lutely.
So I'll do that as well. So
Keith blows an air horn. This is serious now. This is life or death.
You just hear off camera someone going, "Down, boy."
Yeah.
And you cut back to Keith as well. And he's just sort of like, "Oh, I like to give them the horn. It's loud. It wakes them up."
It's like about the fire. They like the fire.
It's a quick fade to black, and then we'll pop back in with Keith showing us a picture of a young girl saying "before," as he holds it round the room, flips it over after, showing a charred doll, followed by the line, "They had to identify her for dental records."
So the dolls have teeth.
Oh, it's Patrick. Yeah, the dolls have teeth. It's not a doll. Well, it is.
There it is.
Well, then that's why Keith's like my favourite bits are the girl, the picture of the girl, and the horn.
The burn girl, and the horn. I do. I like to give them the horn. It's loud. It wakes them up.
Then we get a story from Keith. Little girl came running up to me. Her house said the mum was on fire. So I ran towards the house. What happened? And of course, the team leader, Janice,
kitchen's on fire. How did that happen? And Janice goes, chip pan, thank you very much, love. And then it's like, what do you do then? And Yvonne stands up and she's just sort of like, fire kills in, no, is it? Smoke kills in seconds.
She stands up and she's like, smoke kills in seconds, fire kills in minutes. And he's like, that's right. And he goes, and thanks for standing.
It's like, chip fire. What do you do with a chip fire? Yvonne, what do you think you do with a chip fire? And she just goes,
water.
Pour water on it. Water? That's a complete disaster, that. You pour water on it, woof, and the whole house goes up. And you just hear Patrick go, what? It goes up. He goes, woof, and it goes up.
It just goes woof, doesn't it?
Oh, no, not like that.
What happens when it goes up? Woof. But then picks up everyone starts giggling, picks up a CO2 extinguisher, and he's like, yeah, you can use a drenched towel, or you can use one of these, which is CO2 extinguisher. Goes over the details.
It's just fully black.
A fully black one, yes, it's the old style.
Fully black fire extinguisher, which is very, very unique to see, because you nowadays CO2 fire extinguishers is exactly the same as every other fire extinguishers, where it's just red with sort of like the black label that says CO2.
This is before the EU legislation came in, where we had a separate system for fire extinguishers. Yeah, we had like some. Well, I remember having some fire training back in 2012 where the guy complained about it, saying it was so clear before the EU stepped in and went, we have the same system as Canada and all these other places where every single fire extinguisher is a block colour. Whereas now, and you think, right, I know what fire extinguisher I'm going for because I don't have to look for it. But now, he said back nowadays, like 8 years ago, it's still relevant now. You have to look for the label to say which one you're looking for.
He's right. He's right.
Yeah, it's like
it wouldn't only be easier, but I think you probably won't hear anybody unless like there's people who are obsessed with fire safety would probably say this, but I think they look better as well.
Yeah,
for every reason. It's quite a unique design to just see it all decked out in black when you used to just sort of like it being all red and then color coded with a particular label.
It looks safer. It looks safe because I've not got to fanny around. I've just got to grab the right coloured fire extinguisher. You know which one you're running for straight away, as opposed to like, right, I need to look at the fire extinguisher to make sure I've got what I'm going at. I just realised we're going to a very serious conversation here.
Well, it's funny enough because it's Keith goes on the details of like you can have the fire under control in 30 seconds, he picks up, he looks at it, he's like, this one's a discharge time, 14 to 16 seconds. It's a line that gets me afterward. Because it's not what he says, it's how he says it. He just goes, and it's not for pissing about with.
Yeah.
So
God.
We're back in the bingo hall.
So them CO2 extinguishers are fucking dangerous, by the way. If you hold them wrong, you freeze your hand.
Yeah, I've done fire safety at work before, so we've had to like set all 4 off, and I was like, the guys went, just give it a light press. And like, fucking hell, that's like strong, isn't it?
Yeah, I had to put fires. I've had to put fire when I did fire training at a hotel. We had to put fires out. It was in like a pool of like flammable liquid, and you had to put the fire out. It was quite cool. It was the last thing I did before I got myself shit canned. But yeah, it was you don't them CO2 things. Like he says, you don't piss around with them. To be fair, he's right.
So we're back in the bingo hall. We're with some regulars now, which is sisters Rose and Teresa. Rose is played by Peter Kay, and Teresa is played by Beatrice Kelly, who also plays Marion in season 1 of Phoenix Nights.
Yeah.
And we start with Teresa. We've won a bit of money. We never won big though. Bits of money. Yeah, she won 300 quid once. Yeah, had a power shower fitted.
Does wonders for your back.
Yeah.
So I also notice Peter Kay's character Rose has like the fake cigarette because she literally does.
Yeah,
but it's not a lit cigarette or anything. So there's no ash coming off it or anything, like no fake smoke or anything. They discuss what they like about the bingo. It's like, oh yeah, frills, tension. Also the buzz as well, along with fish, chips, peas, and a drink for £2.49. It's like, Jesus Christ, you can tell it's 1999 or 2000 or whatever. So then we got the meeting with Keith still going on. He's now going over the fire panels. What you need to do is give it a right good belt as he elbows it and sets it off mid-game.
Mid-game, you just got Tom there just going, okay, ladies and gentlemen, can you just make your way to was it assembly point A in the car park? Yeah.
But then it's when you have Keith and he's like, look, we got to evacuate. Like that's nonchalant.
He's there at the front, just sort of like trying to counter for everybody, and then you just got like certain patrons just going, "Come on, hurry it up."
As they're outside, none of the people leaving don't look at all pleased, but we do see the Chorley FM sign on the side of the building.
Yeah, we do.
Oh, we outside the building.
Yeah, we just had the fire alarm go off.
Oh yes. We go outside the bingo hall, which is not in Blackpool, even though we recognise where it is, and to the point where I can actually pinpoint exactly where the cameraman's fucking stood, because I walk my dog where he was stood. Oh dear, but we're not in Blackpool.
So we move on to the evening sessions. The sisters are economising on the drinks. Rose reckons they're all at it, whilst mentioning a pint of orange at the bar costs 40p, while a bottle of cheap cordial costs 35p.
Aldi would have been across the road at that point.
Yeah, it would have been not long open, to be fair. I think 98, I think it opened.
Yeah.
So the begrudging they mentioned Pat Smythe, who brings a husband, but they say, what's the problem with bringing a husband? Well, it's a woman's game. Eventually we're owned by rights, looking after the kids. We need something we can call our own, men have enough.
Oh dear.
We get Ron on stage who introduces Tom.
Oh yeah.
Tom walks out, gives like a full-on like mouth-to-mouth kiss to some like pensioner. Along with some others. Then gets on stage, shakes Ron's hand. He's like, go on, get off.
Get off my fucking stage.
Yeah.
Bloody bingo mafia.
Followed by the intro of, good evening, winners. Hey. Good evening, losers.
Yeah.
Thanks for so many of you coming tonight. With the cemetery shut.
Which does get some giggles, to be fair.
Well, he follows up with, "Oh, I'm on the kidding," and we just get Keith is on the floor, looking for health and safety infringements. And he's going, look at that there. And then Tom mentions Sheila from Wigan's in. Hello, big Sheila, you all right? Now Wigan is now 2 rings, rugby and beautiful women.
Rugby players and beautiful women. So which position do you play, Sheila? She's like, I'm only kidding.
So we see Keith wander over to a man. Look at this pillock here. He's got his leg in the aisle. So, gonna move your leg? The doctor says I shouldn't bend it.
Is he only good at treating third-degree burns?
Third-degree burns, because that's where everybody else will be going if they can't get out of this burn. If they can't get out if the building's burning.
And in my head, I'm thinking, yes, he's a doctor.
Is it not way else to say? It's on your head, be it, pal, not mine. So Tom starts the game.
I was expecting him to just sort of like add just sort of like a case of, no, if these people were trying to get to the fire doors and like, let us out, we're in. Oh!
To be fair, I think I'm not definitely sure because they do mention the commentary that the guy who has his leg stuck out died like not long before the commentary. But I can't remember whether the commentary because I'm sure I was working at the Odeon. I think I served him a few times. So because he looks familiar and the voice sounds familiar as well. Because I always remember a guy used to come in and be like, "I need somewhere I can stick my leg out."
Well, I've got the actual DVD in front of me. I can tell you what the year this DVD was released was 2004.
No, I wasn't working at the Odeon then, so.
So it would have to be after that, before that even.
Strange. So yeah, Tom starts the game with calling numbers. We got a quick fade to black as he comes back in with more numbers. We get a call from the back. Manual check with hurry up, Dave. 7, no. 21, no. 32, 15, no.
15, no.
That's Rose and Teresa every bloody week. She's like this.
Is it Teresa that just goes? She's numerically dyslexic.
Teresa's like, yeah, she's numerically dyslexic, and Rose goes, should be banned.
Yeah. There's one thing I picked up on this as well, which I mentioned to Lewis before we came on air, was like, I've always mentioned it. I noticed it years ago. Well, if you know Coral Island in Blackpool, they have like their own prize bingo.
Yes.
And the guy speaks like a fucking rapper. He's that quick. Right? And I noticed it, with like Tom, he's going mentally quick with the numbers. I was like, thought to myself, how can anyone play along? And then I realised, these guys are like fucking ninjas that play the bingo like this. They can handle speeds like this.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, Jesus Christ. I mean, if I was playing bingo, I'd still be looking for the number that they called five numbers.
Pensioners have 3 speeds. They have pensioner speed, they have bingo speed, and they have getting on the bus speed.
Oh, yes. Bingo speed's the quickest. Clearly.
Oh, well, if they want to beat you onto the bus if they're in the queue before you, like they'll beat you on it. Like.
Oh no! Oh, well, then there's 4 speeds. Then there's getting to the bus and getting on the bus speeds. They're different.
Yeah.
It's like downshifting your car from top gear to first.
So they restart the call. He restarts the call, and 2 numbers in, we get a second claim, and even Tom's here again. Again.
And he just hear everybody in the bingo hall just go, oh, bloody hell, here again.
So Keith's patrol continues. He takes the dabber off a player and sniffs it, going, listen, smell that. You want to try water-based? It wasn't trying water-based markers in the future, love. Someone's shushes him.
It's like toxic and flammable. And it's like it's like a little thing that they mention on commentary. Like when he sniffed this sort of like this highlighter, it's left a blue little dot at the end of his nose.
Yeah.
It's just,
I only noticed that from listening to the commentary. I'd not noticed it before.
Likewise. This is why you need the DVDs. It's like you get the commentary on it. I mean, in the past few days, I bought all the DVDs that I need for the Phoenix pod, and it's such a better experience than having to go online and go on a certain streaming website, which shall not be mentioned, because I want to encourage people to get these DVDs.
Yes.
Well, the thing is as well now, Peter Kay DVDs have become like a limited print. Like you won't find Phoenix Nights like brand new on the shelves anymore, unless it's still on the shelf in HMV because it hasn't sold.
Yeah.
Like there's no sort of best of Channel 4 or anything that it's come out on because he doesn't want it coming out again.
No, and not only that, if Channel 4 are printing them, it's like Channel 4 have got fucking hundreds of comedy shows that they produce, and they've got to make DVDs for them. They can't go back and do the classic ones because they've got new ones to print out. Which, in a way, I count myself lucky because now I have all of the DVDs, including Phoenix Nights and everything, going straight through. So I feel quite happy about that. I'm quite pleased about that. But if you can get these DVDs, I implore you to do so because you're missing out if you don't. I mean, watching the actual episodes themselves online, it's an experience. It's good, but you can't beat having the commentary and all the extras and everything.
I think you do miss something without the DVD.
Can I remind everyone of 13 minutes of Armchair Superstore? And I don't need to advertise anything else. That is what you're missing out on. Never mind the commentary. Armchair Superstore. That's all you need to say.
Yeah.
Armchair Superstore. Why do we need to buy the DVD? Armchair Superstore. Don't need to say anything.
There's another bit which is early on, but I'm coming to it shortly, which is regarding the Peter Kay thing commentary. But first of all, he even feels like Keith feels the woman's cardigan. Like he full on gets about behind the neck. He's like, so you feel that? Yeah. I thought it's polyacrylic. I thought it was polyacrylic when I saw it. And he's like, if you go near a flame, she'll go up like a kite. He said, you never heard the Hindenburg. But then he follows up with, "What are you drinking? Whiskey and Canada Dry." Then she even goes to light up a fact.
You could just tell by the sniff.
Yeah, apparently, like she goes to light up though. Keith is then, hey, and we get false call. False. It's like, and even Tom's like, does he need to be in here? Him. But the Whiskey and Canada Dry. I remember I explained this to Paul years ago, and I don't think it came across quite as well without having you listening to the actual commentary.
Yeah.
It's
like right at the start of the episode as well that it's sort of made because like they make the reference, and then sort of like obviously further into the episode, you just sort of like got Keith just going, "What's that you're drinking? Whiskey and Canada Dry," and literally Peter Kay is just going, "There you go. There's the reference that I was talking about earlier."
The reference he made, it was a guy that he used to work at a bingo hall. There was a guy that used to make an order every single time he was on. It was sort of like he'd have the certain voice
every Sunday.
Every Sunday, yeah, he'd have like his voice like going like. It's like I can't do the voice properly.
Yeah,
it's like
I'll do it now.
I can make.
Go on, Coxy, do it.
I can make an attempt at it Coxy can.
I'm going to respectfully step
So
back.
Peter said he used to work in the bar on a Sunday, and he said this guy had come up with a really high pitched voice. He said he'd shout it, so he'd just walk up and go, 2 whiskey, 2 Canada Dry.
Yeah.
And he'd literally have to bend it. You'd have to bend down behind the counter because he was laughing that much.
Yeah.
He's like, I bent down to get the glass and I just sat behind the bar, just like crying, laughing.
Yeah. And he said,
2 whiskey, 2 Canada Dry.
And he wanted to use it in the show, didn't he? But he realised he couldn't do it justice. So he needed the guy. He said,
I need the original guy in to do it because it wouldn't have conveyed well otherwise, sort of thing, which is like fucking gutting because it's fucking hilarious.
Yeah. But he got the reference in the end anyway with Keith Laird. Keith Laird. Yes, Keith Laird.
But it's just a shame, like, you couldn't have just, like, some guy, even if you had, like, So like Dave Spikey or someone in, just like even like the captain or whatever from Phoenix Nights, like 2 whiskey, 2 Canada Dry.
Absolutely. At least make an attempt at it, and if it was shit, then just get rid. But at least make the attempt. It could have been good. But at least got the reference.
We have Rose and Teresa playing, along with there's a few numbers and there's a call. Camera pans to a pensioner, and all you hear is them say "slut."
Old age pensioner. And they're just like slut.
Yeah.
Like Teresa's there, just going, "Look at her, giving Tom the glad eye."
Bear in mind, this woman's, got to be in the late 70s.
Oh, at least, yeah.
Minimum late 70s.
And Rose is there, just sort of like, "Oh, she's definitely giving Tom the shaft." It's like, I'll break her legs, then she won't be able to spread them so easy.
We get the narrator giving the voiceover. It's nearly time for the National. 25 regional clubs are about to link up and play for £100,000. So as we see everyone rushing in and that, and Keith stood talking to a woman at a serving area.
Yeah. No, Tom gives the announcement. It was just sort of like, "Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to take your seats, because the National is coming up next."
Yeah, his whole demeanour changes, doesn't it? His whole demeanour changes.
Yeah, it cuts to sort of like a shot of like 2 old age pensioners that have been like going at it on the fruit machine, and then they literally just sort of like turn and like, "Oh, better get back to my seat. National's coming up."
Yeah, absolutely. But then he goes all sort of like semi-professional, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He's like, he goes all official, because I don't want to get to it yet, because I don't think we're quite at that point yet, actually, thinking about it. Yeah, we'll go on, because...
So, Keith stood talking to the woman at the serving area. She's looks like she's eating something, or like she's like putting it out on a plate, or she's like an orange or something. Or
it looked as if it was sort of like a satsuma or like a clementine, something like that, and she's just sort of like peeling off the segments.
Yes. And you're saying how flammable a fucking orange is, essentially.
It's like, oh yeah, it's flammable, that. And she's like, "You what?" And she's like, "The acetic acid would hit the flesh off your face."
If I was to light that acetic acid, it would burn the flesh off your face.
Alan pops up.
Yeah,
yay!
He plays Alan as Alanos.
You're all right, Keith.
All right, how's it going? So, God, you were having some trouble with that dog the other night, and he just sort of like looks at me, and just sort of like, "Sorry, what?" It's like, "Yeah, you were having some struggle with that dog, trying to get it into the back of that car, weren't you?" It's like, he's like, "No, what's me?" He's like, "You sure?" I was like, "No, it wasn't me." Sure,
right, nasty bastard, something, wasn't it? He says something about it.
The line is, "It weren't for getting in that car, were it? Right, nasty bastard, it were."
And as he says, "Right, nasty bastard," he gets to the point like he does the stereotypical moment thing where you ride something, put your hand up like that sort of thing, and sort of like rock backwards and forwards, sort of like, yeah. I can't really do it. I can't really describe it.
Certain kind of motion that you'd do in private behind closed doors.
Yeah,
I'll just say that
gyrating, pretty much, wasn't it?
Yeah,
like thrusting. Yeah. There you go, pelvic thrusting.
Thrusting.
Yes, there you go.
Keith's like, "Oh, it's not me, that." So then he walks off. He's like, "I'll see you later," and then goes back to the orange or satsuma ever been flammable. Tom's in the bingo hall saying, "We need absolute silence." We're in the back as Patrick is not happy as he's been told he has to see Ron after his shift, confirming his fears of dismissal.
Yeah, and he's proper banging about and just trying to make as much noise as possible. And Peter Kay commentary just sort of like, "Oh, this was a regular occurrence. This where they kept saying that they needed like absolute silence in the bingo hall, and we'd just be sort of like in the back just making all sorts of noise. We just call it like it manages to come in and like proper bollockers."
But he's like proper taking the pieces. Like he throws a whole tray of cups into the sink. Just fucking launches them.
It's the fact though that for me the voiceover is like it says, "Oh, he's not happy because he's been told he has to see Ron," confirming his fears of dismissal. But at the start of the episode, he's like, "Oh, I hate the job." All right.
Hate the job. Hate working here.
Yeah.
Perhaps like I say, perhaps that shows maybe he wanted to leave on his own volition rather than being shit canned. Maybe I don't know.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
You get some measure of that, like later towards the end of the episode.
Yeah.
So we then get Tom welcoming the towns in with good evening. Good evening, Salford.
Good evening, Southport. Good evening.
Hey, cheap pop. Good evening, Preston.
Good evening, and then you can hear smashing coming from the background. He's just sort of like, quiet, please.
But then, Janice, can you want to see what all that noise is, please? So she runs through to the back, literally sprinting in heels.
She does a Usain Bolt impression to the fucking kitchen.
Then we see a big smash and she's on the floor as Yvonne and Patrick are starting to stand over looking on. Patrick just pulls out the wet floor sign and just sort of ushers Yvonne away.
Yeah.
So we go back with Keith, telling Pauline's like, well, load of crap. And he's like, oh, give it here then. He goes to light whatever, the orange skin or whatever.
Squeezes the acid out of, squeezes the juices out of the orange segment, and then gets a box of matches out of his pocket and just sort of like lights one.
Yeah, he tries to set fire to the fucking orange juice.
Yeah, and he cuts to Tom Dale sort of like doing his bingo calling. And he's just sort of like 6 and 9, 69. Gives a little look at the camera. It's like,
yeah,
it's sort of like on their own's number 11, and you can hear the fire alarm go off.
Yeah,
just sort of like. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to need an evacuation because the fire alarm's going off. You'd say about like 95% of all the crowd are getting up and leaving when there's only sort of like 2 or 3 tables.
Not moving. We're not moving.
You can hear from one of the old ladies just going, "Not moving. Don't have to move. We're evacuating. Not moving at all.
We're not going nowhere."
So then. We get Patrick having his meeting with Ron. There's been shown footage of him cycling through the hall on his bike. Does that look familiar to you?
No.
Like that's you. That it's like it's not me. It's like it's definitely you. Just sort of like that. But you riding your bike there. It's just sort of like, yeah, my bike's great. It's not yellow.
Well, it's Ron says to him something like, "That's your bike." He's like, "That's not my bike."
No, it's grey. It's not. Mine's yellow.
Yeah, that bike's grey. Mine's yellow.
It's on a black and white monitor.
But then this is the part that threw me, as I mentioned on the group chat earlier. After this bit, there's like a randomly quick clip of Rose and Teresa that seems to have been thrown in, where they're both on scooters. But if you look in the background, there must be like 6 or 7 steps that they would have had to like drag the scooters or whatever up, unless there's like a little lift.
Yeah.
And they both just literally scoot forward like, never had time for sex, we're too busy having babies. And Teresa just has like a fag in her mouth, just like,
And that's it. That's all you hear from him then from that point onward.
Yeah, it's literally like a 2 or 3 second like throwaway clip.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why it's there though.
Probably because the content of the line in it's like that random. You just sort of like you know the amount of times that you can sort of like walk in on someone's conversation, just be sort of like, you know, something dead random. It's like I say, she has got a cock, so you have been warned.
Yeah, there is that, to be fair.
I mean, like the context there is just sort of like, you know, you've walked in on that conversation, like, what?
Well, this is it. I mean, it's meant to be it's a mockumentary, isn't it? So
yeah.
It's meant to be filmed like a documentary. So you're not. It's how alert the camera crews are. Even if it was like a proper documentary, like you say, the camera crews might not be on it 100% of the time, but they're going to use the footage of what they film, and they might have filmed maybe 50% of the conversation that was going on, or maybe they was having a conversation further back, and as they came towards the camera, that's what they picked up. And with it being a mockumentary, they go, right, well, we're going to put that in, so it's sort of like half a conversation, but that's what they picked up, and that's what they're going to broadcast, maybe. Or it could just completely fucking random put in there to throw our fucking heads, maybe. We don't know.
Like I was saying before, like what I noticed about the scooters as well is like they both have like a pack of Huggies in the front.
Yes.
And if you go back to before when Tom's doing like his little warm-up shadowboxing, you can see like 8 or 9 packs of Huggies in the background. Yes. So whether that's maybe like a consolidation prize or something, maybe, I don't know.
Maybe maybe they've complained, going, look, hang on a minute, we've had to evacuate the building and cancel the national, because let's be honest, right? If they have to evacuate the building when they're doing the national, they're not going to wait for the Bolton branch. They're not going to wait for them to come back. We'll go catch up and we'll wait for them to do the thing because an evacuation could take 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever. They're just going to crack on and be like, fuck it. So they might have complained and gone, well, hang on a minute, we want compensating. Pack of Huggies, and that's what they've walked away with.
Potentially.
So yeah, it could be all sorts. I mean, this scene proper leaves a more like open to interpretation, shall we say? To what's been going on, and it's literally just a couple of seconds of a throwaway thing, and it's probably had more discussion and probably some of the main points on the program.
So we go back into the office. Ron's reading a list of complaints and behavioural problems Patrick has. That includes you insulted the fire inspector, and then Patrick then chimes in with, "The man's a dick. He interferes with dogs." And Ron just sort of looks at him like, "You fucking what?"
He looks to sort of like Janice, who's involved in the interview room, and gives her a look as if to say, "Is this true?" And then he just sort of like goes back to sort of like, the list of complaints that he has right in front of him.
It's almost like it goes in his head. You can see if you can see to someone's mind, you can hear him when he goes. He looks at him, looks at the team leader, and he goes, "Fair enough."
Isn't that something as well where it says like, "Oh yeah, you didn't have a wet floor sign out or something"? And it's like, well, I wasn't expecting her to come through running through like Limper Christie or something.
No, it's literally a case of sort of like, you didn't have a wet floor sign out. It's like, I did. And Janice goes, only after I fell over. And Patrick just goes, yeah, well, I didn't think you'd be coming through sliding on your ass.
Coming in doing the best Roy Keane impression.
Ron then said, I have no choice but to terminate your contract. It's as of today, you no longer work for Apollo Bingo. And there's like a sort of jump where like Patrick's like, what do you mean? He's like, well, you no longer work for Apollo Bingo. And you're sort of like bitter. It's like a short time later, and it's like Patrick's like, but when you say terminate, like what do you mean by terminate your employment?
I still don't understand that termination of employment. He's just I forget the context, but it just basically sorry, Coxy, go on, because I think I've gone to it earlier.
No, it's. I think you're about right, because he's like, so when you say terminate, what do you mean by terminate? And Ron just sort of loses his rag, and he's like, look, I have been over and over and over this with you. It's like, you are no longer employed by Apollo Bingo. We are terminating your contract. And then Patrick just like,
what don't you understand about this? And he literally just goes, well, no, I understand it. It was just sort of like, I've not clocked off yet, and you've just given me an extra 25 minutes. And Ron immediately just goes, get him out of here. And they make mention on commentary, and just sort of like when Peter Kay was sacked from his job at the bingo hall, he did something similar during his dismissal, because he was just sort of like, well, I did pretty much exactly the same thing, because it worked out that I got an extra like £1.82 or whatever.
Just a quick thing as well. When you're talking about Apollo Bingo, that was the actual name of the bingo hall at the time as well. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like a made-up name. It was the actual name of the establishment.
Well, it's. I was going to say, fully enough as well, there's a guy I used to work at a certain branch of cinemas with, who. One time he finished at like 6 o'clock, and I was like, said to him, I was like, "Oh, you're coming to the pub?" Because we were nipping next door for one quickly. And he said, "No, mate, I'm going for a poo now, so I get paid for it." And he's like, "I'm perfect. I spent like 20 minutes in here just taking a shit."
Yeah, have a shit, browse Facebook, maybe play Homescapes or whatever it is you've got on your phone, and then go and clock out. This
is before like iPhones and that, so you might have had like Snake. Or maybe you had WAP internet.
What plays Snake on his phone or his other Snake?
Oh, well.
Don't do that in your own workplace, dirty bastard.
Hey, get paid for it. Why fucking not?
You have to be in a certain kind of mood, and I don't know about the rest of you, but I've never sort of like struck up that kind of mood when I've been working.
I've watched Clerks too. I'm saying nothing.
Don't look at his wee wee. So
it censors me.
The credits roll as we see Patrick grabbing his stuff, escorted by Janice. Sparky's wiping down. He's just like, "I'll see you later." He's like, "Oh, where are you going?" He's like, "Oh, I've been sacked." Followed by next week at the bingo hall.
Oh, for fuck.
And we get Keith tests the response to the local fire brigade. Is like, we don't know. It's like a bin that he's like set some paper or light to or something. He's like, we don't know if it's out that or not. And the guy's like, the fireman's like grabbed like a glass of water. He's like, "Oh, it's not out, is it?" So throws the water in the bin. He's like, "No, it is."
I thought it was another glass of whiskey and Canadian Dry, to be honest.
It could. I think it was. Fair, yeah. I think Lewis is right. I think it was like whiskey and Canadian Dry, which pisses on the point of Keith Laird's point of like whiskey and Canada Dry. It's fucking flammable, and he just throws it on the
fire. Ron gets a call from head office regarding Keith and call outs, and he's like, "How many times have they called out?"
6.
6? And how much does it cost?
How much? And it's like
Keith's just there with like his mug, just like almost as if that's not me, like just sipping his brew.
Yeah, just like oblivious. Not oblivious.
Not oblivious, but it's like
shirking responsibility.
Sort of yeah.
Well, it'd be more that sort of thing.
It's needed for fire safety.
Yes.
It's more that thing like needs must, isn't it?
Yeah, it means to an end.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly that, actually.
Mm-hmm. And then the final clip is...
We'll then get the police arrive and want to talk to Keith.
It's like
Mr. Ladd.
Keith Winston Ladd. It's like, yes.
Yeah.
Can you come with us, please? We've got a couple of questions for you.
Yeah, Keith Ladd sort of backs away from him and he reaches behind him and grabs a bag, which squeaks a fucking dog toy. You just hear a dog toy squeak as he grabs it.
Oh dear.
So then we get the sort of dun 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 dun, followed by a disclaimer about the real Keith Laird, which Paul is going to read now, hopefully.
I am finding it as we speak. We have spoken on group chat, and I put it there, and I can't find it. There we go. Found it. It says, and I quote, Channel 4 and Peter Kay would like to state that the character of Keith Laird may have led some persons to wrongly believe that the character was based on a Mr. Keith Laird. We wish to make it clear this is not the case and would like to apologise to Mr. Keith Laird and his family for the distress caused. We've also agreed to make the donation to the Fire Service Benevolent Fund. There you go, can't speak tonight. And to Mr. Laird's family for his and his family's personal distress. Mr. Laird's contribution to the fire safety in Bolton is well documented, and his professionalism and personal integrity are not in any doubt. If you would like any more information on fire safety, well, anyway, it's just talking about getting information on Channel 4 and what have you, which website probably doesn't exist anymore. But yeah, basically, it was like sort of like not a disclaimer as such, but more of an apology to say that the character is based on, well, not based on someone that they know, but it's got the same name as someone that works in the same sector they're taking the piss out of.
It's pretty much exactly the same disclaimer that they had during episode 3, I believe it was, of Phoenix Nights.
It is exactly the same. It's exactly the same disclaimer. Which you got to think of is, if they was aware of it then, why did they use the same name in Phoenix Nights? Unless they've put it in as like a retrospect.
Well, the thing is, you said that the DVD came out in 2004, so it was probably just an additional thing that was sort of like in line with it.
I was just about to. Yeah, I was just thinking because I think Phoenix Nights season 1 came out in like 2001.
It came out, yeah. Well, that Peter Kay thing came out first because it was 2000.
Yeah.
But I think this kind of went unnoticed until Phoenix Nights came about. Of like, oh yeah, there's a Keith Laird, like fire inspector in Phoenix Nights, who then Oh wait, he popped up in that Peter Kay thing as well.
Yeah,
right.
I think this is sort of like an addition that they've put in post edit for the DVD.
Absolutely.
That's what I think, anyway.
No, I think you're right. I think it's post because obviously this was filmed in 1999, I believe.
It would have been 99, yeah. Because it aired in January 2000, so it would have been filmed at some point in 99 because the services was filmed in 98.
Yeah. So this has been put in retrospect because then in that case, this is DVD. Well, DVD I watched was released 4 years after it aired, so it's most likely in respect to what I watched and what I've just read out and it's the fact that it's word for word exactly the same disclaimer. It's been put in retroactively.
Mm-hmm.
So, but maybe at the time it didn't have that disclaimer, and maybe because as it says on the back of the DVD, it's what does it say? The award-winning that Peter Kay thing not only launched the career of one of UK's most popular comedians, but was also the forerunner of phenomenally successful Phoenix Nights. So, like I say, this launched Peter Kay's career. And because obviously I said in the previous episode, I believe it was like this was the thing that sort of gave Peter Kay a platform to go, right, I've done this. It got critically acclaimed. Let's do Phoenix Nights. And because of the reputation of that Peter Kay thing, it drew more people into Phoenix Nights, which is why Phoenix Nights is a lot more famous than that Peter Kay thing.
Yeah.
So,
definitely.
Which explains why it would be word for word what was said on Phoenix Nights as opposed to the other way around. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The disclaimer came from Phoenix Nights, not the disclaimer came from the Peter Kay thing, and they just slapped it.
Yeah. Well, given that he features heavily in this episode.
It's like more so in this than it was in the Phoenix Nights episode.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I'd argue he was more obnoxious in this episode than he was in Phoenix Nights.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, that was episode 2 of that Peter Kay thing, Eyes Down. So, overall, gents, what did you think?
Fucking loved it. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think of the 3 episodes of that Peter Kay thing that we've done so far, despite the fact that last time around was just pretty much like a prequel to Phoenix Nights. I think this has been my favourite episode so far.
Yeah, I have to second that. I mean,
it's been the most quotable, and it's had sort of like the more memorable characters. I don't know whether I took sort of like the last episode for sort of like granted, given that the characters that I'm sort of used to, and therefore didn't really make too much of a connection. Whereas in this one, you've got Patrick, you've got Tom Dale, you've got Rose and Teresa, you've got the other appearance of Keith Laird, which is always good to see.
The other thing you can take away from this episode is in the last episode you had obviously you had Brian Potter, you had Max, you had the Park Avenue. The characters that Peter Kay played were more sort of like better done in this episode than they were in the previous episode, because you had that guy from Surely FM that did next to fuck all apart from look at somebody's tits. That's all you got in the previous episode from him, really. Whereas every Peter Kay character in this episode was key to what was going on. You could have removed that character from the Surely FM sort of thing from the last episode, and it wouldn't have mattered. But if you did that in this episode, you'd have hurt it. You would have hurt the episode if you did that. Yeah. So in that respect, for me, like I say, this episode is much better. What also made it better for me, in a way, was in the last episode, I only had the ability to watch it online. Now, I'm sort of retreading old ground, perhaps a little bit here, but from having the actual physical DVD and having the plethora of extras that I had, it gave me a bit more insight into what was going on with the episode, with the commentary and the actual episode itself. So I got more out of it. You get more out of it.
You get more out of it by having the actual like physical copy of it. because there's a lot of extras. There's a lot of extras that come with it. Where if you're just sort of like streaming it from like an online streaming service, you only get the episode, and that's really it.
Key points that they'll say, for a key example in that is the 2 Whiskey and Canada Dry. You wouldn't have got that without the extras.
Yes.
It's just a case of like, oh, Keith Floyd sniffed it. Oh, that's a flammable liquid. But because you listen to the commentary, you get why that fucking reference is there. And you wouldn't get that just by going, I'm just going to go on a certain streaming website and watch it from that way. So for me, because I went out and I got the actual physical DVD, got the extras, got this, watched it with the commentary and without the commentary, I got more out of this episode. And I enjoyed it a hell of a lot more because of that.
Yeah. I'm pretty much in the same boat as I just sort of like I ordered like a load of pre-owned Peter Kay DVDs. That Peter Kay thing was one of them. It popped through me letterbox early this morning, and then
which as it did with me.
Yeah. And it's a lot better sort of like having the actual physical copy, as I've said, because you get like a ton of extras that you realise how many. I mean, sort of like there's little things that have gone into sort of like previous episodes, but also with the additions of sort of like having the audio commentary there, you realise how many more like little things actually go into the episode itself, which I think makes it more worthwhile, really.
And it makes it more personal as well.
Like
you get the reasoning behind some of the writing that's gone into the episode, and it's all drawing from Peter Kay's past experience and what he's actually done. So in a weird way, it's almost like this episode especially, it's more like an autobiography with a twist, in a way, of his experience of working in a bingo hall. Mm-hmm. It would be like if Coxy wrote a sitcom about working in the cinema.
Or working in Madame Tussauds Swords.
Or working in that place, yes. It'd be the same
fair,
sort of thing.
Like, because Peter Kay has worked in cinema before, it's fine he didn't do a cinema episode. But like, unless he didn't have any like interesting stories from the cinema, it'd be a bit too similar, wouldn't it, as we think about it?
And not only that as well, what kind of sort of like conversations, things can happen while you're watching a film. You don't have the.
It wasn't so much that. Because when I worked there, it was more like the interaction with other staff members and like customers you get in the foyer. And like, especially like when it comes to like regulars and stuff. Like we had a guy called Cricket Man who used to come in. We used to call him Cricket Man.
Mm-hmm.
Because he used to go to the cricket, but then he used to also go to like Blackpool footy games.
Oh yeah.
At one time he was on the front page of the Gazette, like right in the corner, like just sat there like. And he came in and like one of the managers was like, "Oh, I saw you on front of Gazette," and he's just like, "Oh, bloody hell!" He's like, "Oh yeah, you're famous now."
Oh god. Well, you'll get that with any sort of that job where you're working with the public, though, where you get your locals and you're like, "Oh, you got this guy, and the other guy." The only job I've ever had where I've actually worked with the general is when I worked at a corner shop for a year and a half, 2 years, and you got like as we affectionately call them, smack rats, and the the ones which were the shoplifters that used to go for your cheese and your your bacon, your coffee, and shit like that.
Well, I was going to say the other probable point they didn't do the cinema is he's also there's an episode where they do the arena, which is coming up.
I was just about to say, because sort of like there's one where he's the usher, or
he's the usher at the arena.
Usher at the MEN arena, and just sort of like they're quite similar roles in retrospect. So
yeah, that makes sense.
Maybe there'll be sort of like combinations, sort of like that go into that one little episode when we get to it.
Yeah, there is that. And what you think about the bingo hall is more working class, I would say, which is what Peter Kay was sort of probably gunning for. As well, sort of like working class humour sort of thing. Which is probably why we plumped for the bingo hall. And then I don't know, it's probably a bit funnier getting old people to say shit like "I'm going to break her legs," as opposed to somebody who's going to the cinema. Fucking slut.
There was the Tom's entrance with PJ and Duncan. Let's get ready to rumble. He did say his
and Deck, as they're known in this day and age.
Deck, yeah. His when he worked at the bingo hall, he said there was a guy who he stole the idea off, but he came out to like Simply the Best or something.
Simply the Best, yeah.
Which is
it was simply the best.
Which was my first dance actually at my wedding, but a slow version of it, which apparently the DJ never heard of.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, that was my first dance for Simply the Best. Which is weird. You don't think of that as a first dance song.
Well, it was quite appropriate as sort of like the version that you went for. I feel.
Yeah, it was nice. But my missus is a Rangers, sort of like got Glasgow Rangers in like a family, so it's sort of like that's their song. So went with it, and I liked it. It was one of my dad's favourite songs as well. So I was like, yeah, we'll go with that. One of the moments where you we're trolling through YouTube for songs that we heard at, and it was literally just a case of we don't need to listen to anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was perfect. So yeah, but yeah, that was just a bit random trivia up there. But yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, loved it.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get my Mr. Whippy on.
We'll cover that in a moment, because first of all, we need to do some plugs.
Yes, we do. You can find me on the UK RAD Live podcast. We are on all the good podcast catchers out there, like such as Stitcher, Apple Music, Spreaker, you name it, we're on there. We're even on YouTube, I believe. You can find us on Twitter at UK RAD Podcast. We are on Facebook. Just search for UK RAD Podcast. But yeah, you can also find my alter ego Steve, Steve the Betrayer, Steve AOT GTMP, where I usually take the piss out of our good friend Bunkle and his character at Rogar GTMP. And you can find him on Gunpowder Treason. So go, mate.
Yes. No.
Yes.
I was literally about to say, because you're part of a particular podcast that you're going to plug right now.
Yes, I'm. I wouldn't say I'm part of it, but I've had a guest put moments in it where, yeah, you can find Rogar at. I've completely fucked it up now, but we'll try it again. You can find him on Gunpowder Treason No Plot, and their Twitter handle is @TreasonNo, and they're also on all the good podcast catchers out there, which I've had a bit part in.
The little plug I'll give right now sort of ties into Coxy's little side podcast. Recently, during the COVID-19 pandemic, I've literally just been doing free lockdown reviews of wrestling shows. Sort of like a collaborative effort with Coxy's Lost Art of Wrestling, Lost Art of WrestleBox. We've done a fair few number of reviews, and the latest one, which is the NWA, the National Wrestling Alliance's Into the Fire pay-per-view, will be out this coming Monday. So if you follow the Lost Art of Wrestling on Facebook, Twitter, and also on all good podcasting feeds such as Stitcher, Spreaker, Apple Music, Podbean. If you've got an Android phone and you have the Castbox app, it's available on there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We all are on there.
Cool. And of course, you can find the Phoenix Pod on all good podcast providers, including Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spreaker, Spotify, Castbox, and any other one. If we're not on it, let us know.
And of course, we'll put on there.
We'll try.
We'll try. We'll try.
I'm not saying I'll do that. Of course, you can find the Lost Art of Podcasting on the Facebook. We're on Twitter at Lost Art Podcast. We're on Instagram at Lost Art Podcasting. And you can find us on all good podcast providers, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Spreaker, and the rest. So I think that's all of us to say, boys, apart from, eyes down, let's tickle those balls.
Yay! Absolutely. Way.
Eyes down.